We have looked at what goes on during the planning phase of the life cycle, but now we're going to go into more detail about this phase, in particular the kind of tools we can use during it. So in this video, we're going to talk about it in quite a high level, looking at why we're using tools in the first place and also what kind of software can be used to create these tools. Then in future videos, we'll look at specific instances of tools as well. So first of all, what are planning tools? Well, to create our project plan, which is really our key output of our planning phase, there are lots of different tools we can use, lots of different ideas and concepts and different ways of doing things we can choose if you are a project manager. It's not just about creating this plan though, also during planning we will be designing our product. So we don't start execution without any idea on what our project or our product will look like. So we are doing some designing as well. It's not only for creating our plan. So both are key stages of planning really. So the tools we need to know about, which we'll cover individually, are the ones listed here. So 6 different planning tools. Some are for planning, as in creating a project plan, and other ones are more for design. Some can be used for both. But these are not the only tools that exist. These are just the ones which OCR have chosen for you to learn about, and they're useful ones too. So other ones, example like mood boards for design. This is called an affinity diagram for linking ideas, and this is called a mock-up, so like a little version of a product to see what it looks like. That would be used for design as well. So different tools are available and they're going to help us produce either a plan or do some designing, but both occur during our planning phase. As a project manager, you don't have to use any of these. You could decide not to use any specific planning tool. You could just do it in a document. You could just explain to your team what is going to happen. You don't need to use a specific tool, but there are advantages to doing it and also disadvantages too. So let's talk about what's good about using a specific tool like the ones listed here. So in general terms, using a planning tool provides you this really clear structure which can be used in a plan, also a clear structure which allows you to create a design. So having no planning tool, sort of doing it as an improvisation, means you haven't got a clear structure to work from. And you might have all of your ideas in your head, but your team might not understand what is going on in your head. So having it down on paper can be really useful. And similar to this point, many of the tools listed here are quite visual, so they have some visual aspect to them. It makes it quite easy to communicate and represent your plan or your design. Also, 2 concepts we looked at before, dependency and concurrency. Dependency meaning you have to complete a task beforehand, and concurrency meaning doing 2 tasks in parallel. You can see usually both of these things quite easily on our version of a planning tool. Another good advantage is that often the planning tools, the finished planning tools, show you important aspects like timescale, budget, and what employees are allocated to which task, which again is really good at managing our constraints and managing our risks. So a risk might be our project goes over the timescale. Well, having a clear timescale on our plan is going to be really helpful. Not having a planning tool, just doing it in your head, may mean you're not controlling a constraint like timescale or budget particularly well. But overall, they're not all good. As you'll look at, they can become a little bit complicated. Some of the tools are not easy for non-specialists to understand. So if you haven't learnt about what a Gantt chart is or what a PERT chart is, you might have no idea what's going on, for example. So often they can become complicated, especially over big projects. Another downside is that often if you are following a really clear tool, your plan can become almost too detailed. So we want to have a detailed plan, but if your plan is too fixed and doesn't have enough, say, contingency time, it means that as soon as something changes in real life, as soon as you start execution and things change, it's very hard to then use your plan because it's become too specific and too fixed. You have estimated, say, how long it will take. Maybe you think it's going to take 2 months. In reality, it might take a year because of some delays. And so your plan becomes not very useful if you've made it become too fixed and too specific. Not using any planning tool means your plan is going to be more vague and more general just by nature. And linked to this point, it's important to remember that we are still planning here. We haven't done anything yet. So any timescale or costs or estimated staff numbers are predicted and may not necessarily be particularly realistic. In many cases, our plan will just be a guide for us during execution. We have said that there are lots of different planning tools available. A project manager may choose one, he or she may choose 5 or 10, depending on how detailed they want to be or how big their project is. But they also have a choice of what software to use. So of course they could make any of these tools, use any of the tools on paper and do it just by hand, but we're doing an IT course, so let's assume that we're going to use some software to do it, as modern projects would, so software being a program running on your computer. And there are different categories, different types of software, which can be used for certain planning tools. So not all planning tools can be made by all types of software, as we'll talk about in the next few slides. So we've got 4 we need to look at, and also if you do, well, you'll do LO6 as well. This will link in there too. So the first one is what we call project management software. So our whole topic is, for LO1 at least, is project management, and this is software specific to this topic, really, this whole job. So they are designed for creating project plans, and because they are very specialized, that means that because only a few people are going to use them, it can be very expensive to buy. So it could well be in the thousands of pounds to buy a license to use this really specialized software. But in theory, you're paying to make your life easier, because they're quite good at making some of the slightly harder tools like Gantt charts, PERT charts, flow charts, which can be quite awkward to make using non-specialist software. So this software is showing a Gantt chart, which we'll look at in a future video, and it's online and it's only designed for making a Gantt chart. You can't use this to make a presentation or make a video game, right? It's only for making a Gantt chart. So that's why you might have to pay for it quite a lot, but in theory it's really well designed for this one purpose. Because, as you can see here, it looks quite complicated. That may require some training, which will take time and may cost money as well. You may have to learn how to use this. But often, because it's modern software, you can access it from anywhere. So if it's online, you can just share it with your team, email it to someone, and anyone on your team can view it and maybe change it. And there's a lot of collaboration built in to modern software like this. So in theory, at least, all of our planning tools could be covered by specific software, project management software, although each one may specialize in a different chart or different planning tool. A second, less fancy software is Spreadsheets. So Spreadsheets are really designed for number crunching, so storing and manipulating numbers. So things like Microsoft Excel are spreadsheets. You can have less basic ones than Excel. And because they're mostly designed for numbers and graphs and so on, they're not designed to be storing files, like big files, annotations, or other what we might consider more visually appealing aspects. So that's not good. We want our planning tools to be nice and appealing to look at. If it's really boring and hard to see, it's not going to have a very good effect on our team. I mean, this one here, you can see Excel can allow you to add colours, you can add shapes, but it's not really its purpose, and so it can be a little bit harder than, say, the specialist management software. But because it is relatively simple and most people know how to use a spreadsheet, you can create the tools quite quickly and simply. And when I say tools here, I really mean Gantt charts. So Gantt charts and, to be fair, task lists are the 2 main planning tools which spreadsheets can be used for, because a Gantt chart is really a bar chart on its side with just some gaps, and so you can't do anything too creative in a spreadsheet, but for quite a simple Gantt chart it might be quite good. You have to pay for Microsoft Excel. It's not too expensive, but there are free options available as well. The third potential software type is word processors, so software designed for writing text documents. And so again, like Excel, the task is quite specific, which means it's not really designed for doing anything too creative, although you can add some formatting, you can change the text around, change the font, add some shapes, add some colours, but it's not really the purpose of Microsoft Word in this case, right? It's mostly for writing a text document, which does limit its use slightly. So you can use it to create most of the tools quite informally. So you can, if you want to create a PERT chart by adding some shapes in, you can create a visualization diagram by adding some shapes and colours, but it's not necessarily particularly professional doing it in a word processor, which isn't really designed for project management necessarily. It also might be quite difficult and quite fiddly to arrange a project tool, a planning tool inside a word processor. If you ever try to move shapes around in Microsoft Word, it can give you a headache because it's not really designed for doing anything too creative. A type of software which is designed for more creative tasks is desktop publishing software, or shortened to DTP. So this software is really good at combining images and text. So Photoshop isn't really an example of DTP, but we can see some kind of visualization diagram here. Things like Adobe InDesign or Microsoft Publisher are really what DTP is. So for things like magazines or pamphlets, where we are combining images and text. And it does mean it's a bit more professional because this is designed not for writing Word documents, it's designed for combining pictures and colours and nice graphics all in one place. So it's more professional, but they can be not easy to use. You can't just open it up and suddenly magically be an expert at it. It takes some time to learn, as you may know from your own experience. And they can be more expensive than, say, Microsoft Word would be, especially because there are free versions of Spreadsheets and word processors, whereas usually you have to pay, especially for the more professional products that fall under this category. I will say that DTP is not really designed for things like Gantt charts and PERT charts, because you can use them to create those tools, but it's not really designed for it, and so that difficulty to use will come in because it can be quite tricky. Using a simpler software like a spreadsheet might be preferable, especially if you can't afford the expensive project management software.